Hey guys, what's up, Dags here. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be discussing some of the craziest rumours I've personally seen surrounding next season's Formula 1. So, we did our predictions video a couple of weeks ago. That went down really well, so I really appreciate the support from the original subscribers and also maybe the possible new people that came into that video as well. Really appreciate that. That's really cool to see a lot of people watching that video. Today we're going to sort of look into this once again, look into some of the strange and maybe weird rumours that have been sort of associated with the 2018. So, let's jump straight into this with one of the biggest drivers on the grid, Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton always seems to throw up a little bit of a surprise when it comes to the sort of transfer market in Formula 1. He either says he's quitting, which he normally does from time to time, you know, just to spark a couple of emotions here and there, or he says he wants to go to Ferrari, which is the case once again this year. I think we realised Lewis Hamilton, he probably, I don't know, he said that he doesn't have any interest outside Formula 1, but personally I see him, he can probably go into a lot of other roles outside Formula 1. He's a bit more than Formula 1. Like, a lot of people are just an F1 driver, but I think Lewis Hamilton has something more about him that he wants to go on and do something else and still be sort of relative. Maybe he could even be like an actor or something. Maybe not, but he's been in movies in the past, so maybe in the future, who knows, but we'll see. But I think there's definitely more to him than just F1, and possibly I'd see Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari for maybe like a season or two and then just canning off his F1 career. That's a possibility, or he could just keep staying at a top team until the end of his career. That's very, very possible. You know, he could be like 40 years old and still be racing in F1, and I still think he'd be pretty damn decent. So that's a possibility, but the link is with Ferrari, and personally, I don't know whether I'd like to see this happen or not, because let's be honest, if he goes to Ferrari, there's no way Vettel's going to want to stay at Ferrari, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. So, it'd be interesting to see if that ever did happen. I personally don't think it would happen in the next few years, but it could well happen in the future, maybe 4 years down the line. I mean, when Vettel's like, yeah, I've done this, I've got my world title, I've got my 2 world titles with Ferrari, maybe he'll want to move on and quit F1 himself. Who knows? But I think Lewis Hamilton right now probably won't be moving to Ferrari for next season. You know, a lot of people will be like, where'd you hear this rumour? But honestly, you hear this all the time, Lewis Hamilton wanting to go to Ferrari, and it was maybe a couple of weeks ago where I saw this rumour. Once again, I was like, yep, this time of year, once again. So, interesting. Will you guys think that Lewis Hamilton would ever go to Ferrari? It'd be a big move for Formula 1. Of course, he's only ever been in big teams, McLaren, Mercedes, and also if he went to Ferrari, that's another massive team that he's been at. He's only ever been in sort of like the all-time great teams in a way. So, yeah, we'll see. Don't think that's going to happen next year, but very interesting to see if something crazy like that does happen in the transfer market, meaning everything else is just going to go crazy. Right, next up, so if we were going to talk about Hamilton going to Ferrari, where would Sebastian Vettel go? This is very hypothetical. Hopefully you guys don't think this is like super serious. None of this is probably going to happen, but I just like to talk about stuff like this because I find rumours really interesting in where they sort of originated from, where they were just a newspaper wanting to speak about something just to get a bit of attention, or, you know, it has real ground to it. So this one is Vettel to Mercedes. Of course, there's more than just Hamilton wanting to go to Ferrari, just as a link. Of course, Vettel's German and so are Mercedes, and they could want to have that that link up which they had with Rosberg and Schumacher back in the day. It was basically a whole German team, apart from the fact it was in England. But you know what I mean? A whole German setup in a way. Who knows whether they'd want to go back with that. And Sebastian Vettel, of course, he has been a bit frank with his words about Ferrari sometimes. The last couple of years haven't been particularly great until we got to this season where, of course, the car's actually been pretty damn decent and he's battling for this World Championship. But I'm really not too sure whether Vettel would ever do this move. It's a tough one to call because, of course, Hamilton and Vettel I don't think will ever end up in the same Formula 1 team. I'm pretty sure that's like certain. I don't think that would ever happen. But at the end of the day, if they switched, basically, that would be incredible for Formula 1. Lots of people would love to see what they would be like, because I personally feel I think Vettel would fit better in Mercedes than Hamilton would fit in Ferrari, if that makes any sense. I don't know, there's just something about it. I can't see it working too well, especially because a lot of the Ferrari fans have basically abused Hamilton for so many years, of course being on the opposite side of the equation back in the early career where they were all like Raikkonen, Massa, or recently where it was Alonso versus Hamilton, or maybe like Vettel versus Hamilton. They've always been on the opposite side, so it would really be interesting to see whether the Ferrari fans would take to Hamilton as, you know, in the same way they took to Vettel after his move from Red Bull. But I can only see this really happening if they switch. I can never see them both being in the same team. I think, one, that's going to be a huge amount of money going to just salary alone. And also, I just don't think they'd want to be teammates. I think, well, I don't know. I think they would say they want to be teammates to try and compete against each other, but I don't think in real terms they would, because I think there'd be a lot of clashing, like multiple times what it was like between Hamilton and Rosberg. So really interesting to see whether anything like that ever happens, but I can never see them both being in the same team at once. Of course, I'd really like to see what you guys think on this one. It's a really interesting topic, because at the end of the day, who knows whether it could happen. If it does, that is just a massive, massive moment for F1. But then, at the same time, there could be a whole team open for a new star to arise. Now, realistically, there is an option here for Bottas to go somewhere for next season. He's only penned a one-year deal with Mercedes for this season. That means next season he's not going to be with anyone right now. He says he wants that resolved. I think it was like Italy, Belgium, just after the summer break. I think he wanted that contract negotiated and sorted for next season. So, who knows, Bottas probably is going to stay with Mercedes next season. But there were links floating around at the start of this season, you know, saying he's only penned a one-year deal at Mercedes because he wants to go to Ferrari for next season. That's a really interesting one, because of course there's obviously the Finnish thing there with Raikkonen already being a part of Ferrari, whether he'd maybe recommend Bottas. Don't think that's the case. I think Raikkonen would rather stay in Formula 1 himself there than sort of recommend Bottas, who probably, to be honest, is probably a bit quicker than Raikkonen right now. So I don't know. I think Bottas should stay at Mercedes if he wants to prolong his career. I think being Vettel's sidekick probably isn't too good. Like, I think Hamilton is probably a better teammate than Vettel in some ways. I don't know, I'm just throwing accusations out there. I don't really know whether that's the case, but assumptions, I should say, not accusations. I'm throwing assumptions out there that probably Vettel is not such a good teammate to be alongside. I mean, all of his teammates that I can remember have always they've basically always fallen into the number 2 role, but with Hamilton there's a lot more evenness, I would say. But who knows? But really interesting to see. I think Bottas will stay at Mercedes next season, but there were those links to Ferrari, and I don't know, would he fit alongside Vettel? I think that, like, Bottas is such a nice guy. I think he'd get on with absolutely anyone in the paddock, but I would probably steer away. If I was in Bottas' situation, I'd probably steer away from being Vettel's teammate, because I can just see myself fitting into the number 2 role. But the thing is with Bottas, I know he's good enough to go for a championship at one point if he's in the right car. Obviously, he's battling with this year's championship, but I'd say it's probably going to end up being Hamilton and Vettel. But I think he is good enough to go for a world championship at some time in the next couple of years. But yeah, I'd probably steer away from Sebastian Vettel. No offense to Vettel fans, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying he's probably not the best teammate to be, because every single teammate he's had ended up being the number 2 driver. So yeah. So next up is Fernando Alonso. So he's had an excruciating time at McLaren for the last couple of seasons. Of course, he's joined this Honda project thinking it was going to be absolutely incredible in the next couple of years. Of course, the first year, maybe the second year weren't going to be too good, but you thought by now they were going to start to get it together. But if anything, it's actually got worse. I think the first half of the season was probably, I think it even went down in history as McLaren's worst ever start to a season, which is just absolutely mad. I mean, a team with that much money, how are they failing that badly? It is quite incredible. So personally, I'll probably say Alonso's going to be looking to move for next season. And what are the possible seats? I mean, Mercedes and Ferrari are definitely the ones that are going to be most competitive. Red Bull, don't think I could see Alonso ever going there personally. I just don't think it really fits, and I think they're pretty happy with Ricciardo and Verstappen. But there's definitely a possibility for him to go to Mercedes or Ferrari if certain things go the right way. Now with Alonso, obviously, I think he doesn't mind being anyone's teammate. He gets along well with everyone, except from Hamilton in 07, but we'll gloss over that. I think Alonso is actually probably quite a good teammate, and he definitely voices his opinions, and I think he tries to get the team sorted. Of course, it hasn't really worked in McLaren a second time by, but there's definitely a possibility for him to go back to Ferrari. If Raikkonen retires, could we have a Vettel-Alonso team? I mean, there's definitely been some frank words between them in the past, and who knows whether they could really do it. But maybe it'd be like a similar situation like we were talking about earlier. It's like, I don't know whether Vettel really wants to have someone like a top driver that can go for a championship as a teammate. Like, no offense to Raikkonen, I really don't want to offend Raikkonen fans here, but I don't think Raikkonen is at the top of his powers anymore. I'd say maybe his last year at Lotus was probably his best season of recent. I mean, I don't think he's really, like, when he's come back to Ferrari, it's sort of been unfortunately a bit of a step downwards for Raikkonen. So I don't really know. Would Alonso and Vettel work at Ferrari? I mean, it would be absolute madness if those two guys were teammates. I think even more mad than if Hamilton and Vettel were teammates, because I think there's been more rivalry between between Vettel and Alonso than between Hamilton and Vettel. So I'd like, honestly, I would not believe this. If I heard this rumor come true, I would just not believe it one bit. But I can see it less likely that, you know, Alonso goes to Mercedes. So Alonso said he's going to win races next year. So the only thing that goes through my head is that surely Honda getting binned for next season. Like, definitely, there's no way Alonso can say he's definitely going to be winning races next year, unless he's talking about IndyCar. There's no way he's going to be winning races in F1 if he has that Honda power unit. I mean, it could be okay next season, but it's not going to be race winning good, I think. If that comes true, they're like absolutely amazing next year. I'm just going to be looking so stupid, but surely they've had like 3 years or whatever of developing this engine, and it's been rubbish every single season, and we haven't really seen any signs of improvement. Surely they've got to be canning that. They've got to be canning the Honda power unit for next year, and surely Alonso's going to be staying with Mercedes. Sorry, not McLaren. And surely Alonso's going to be staying with McLaren and getting the Mercedes power unit, and hopefully the McLaren guys, the geniuses back at the factory, can design a car that's good aerodynamically. So really interesting. Alonso always linked to Ferrari once again. Well, not always linked to Mercedes, but some interesting links to Mercedes. Obviously, when it was like the free seat open there, once Rosberg retired, we all sort of wanted Alonso to go back there, but it was quite unlikely, of course, because Hamilton was there, and we know those two in the past. So interesting, but I think unfortunately I can't see Alonso really going anywhere. I think Ferrari will either choose a young driver to replace Raikkonen or keep Raikkonen, or maybe take someone like Perez, but I don't think they'd go for Alonso, just to bring up bad emotions from the past. And also I just can't see him going to Mercedes right now, because Hamilton and Bottas are a pretty good duo. But anyway, let's get on to my last rumour for this video. Okay, one last rumour to talk about at the end of this video here, guys, is what if Robert Kubica decides, or Renault say no to him going back to them for next season? I mean, I think it's pretty much, I don't know, I don't like to say this, but I would say it's pretty much a done deal. I would say Kubica is going back to Renault next season. But what are the options if he decides not, or they say no? Well, I think one springs straight away is surely Williams have got to get on that straight away, because he's over the age limit for the Martini sponsorship, and also I'd say he's probably the best driver that you could, well, one of the best drivers you could pick out of the drivers not in contract. And I think him with Stroll could be a pretty decent lineup next season, assuming Massa retires, of course, but who knows, maybe he's got a few more years left in him in like a mid-table team. But what if they said no to him as well? I mean, I don't know. Robert Kubica, you surely think he's going to be in F1 next year, and it's probably going to be with Renault, but what if Palmer suddenly turns around to the second half of the season of his life and suddenly just out-races Hulkenberg every single time? Very unlikely, but what if that does happen? Or what if they decide to go with their sort of a junior driver, Roland? I don't really think that's a possibility, but surely one of the other teams is going to swing in for Kubica if that is the case. Williams, I would say, has probably got to be quite close up there. Maybe someone like Haas. But I don't know, would Kubica really want to go to a team that's definitely going to be in the midfield next season? Haas, I would say, definitely going to be in the midfield. I'd say Williams most likely going to be in the midfield. But Renault, very likely they could be battling for definitely constant points. But most likely they could get a podium or two next season, I personally feel, especially with the lineup of Hulkenberg and Kubica. But yeah, I don't know, I've just seen it floating about. I don't think Kubica is going to get rejected from Renault. I'm pretty sure he's going to be at them next season. I think a lot of you guys would love it as well, and I think the whole of the F1 community would absolutely love it if Kubica went back to Renault, and it would just be an absolutely amazing story for the sport. Surely there's going to be documentaries and stuff on this guy in the future. He's just, what an incredible story. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I've sort of rounded up a couple of the rumours I've been hearing, but if you've got any more you've seen down in the comment section, put it down there and I'll respond to them, or maybe make another video if you guys like this one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, apologies for a couple of days without a video. I've sort of just got to the point where if I don't want to record a video, I'm just not going to. Once I think of a decent idea, I'll upload it, but I'm not pressuring myself to put out X amount of videos per week anymore. I'm just like, make sure it's a video I liked making. So yeah, hope this was a good one, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Leave your comments down below. As always, remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Let's try and get 200 likes. That'd be absolutely epic, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.